Welcome to the recap of Miss Earth 2025. Thank you so much for joining me, friends. I'm back. I have had a tonsil infection, so I have been sick and in bed and very behind on all of my content, unfortunately, but we're back. So first I want to say congratulations to Miss Earth for their 25th anniversary. This is their silver edition, so we saw lots of silver throughout the show. One of the first places that we noticed lots of silver is their opening number outfits. I think this part made a lot of sense. However, I did realize that this year I felt like the LEDs behind the contestants were so bright that they were backlighting them a little bit and you weren't able to see the contestants as clearly. And I'm not sure if I've noticed this in other shows before, but it is something that I noticed this year. Right before we jumped into the swimsuit portion, we saw this B-roll footage of the contestant in their activities throughout the competition. And I think that that type of footage could be elevated a little bit more with the way that they're capturing those moments of the contestants. So moving forward, I love for them to try out some different videographers to capture all of this content, but keep in mind this is still a very relatively new organization, especially in comparison to other ones like Miss Universe or like Miss World. Now we jumped into the swimsuit competition for our semifinalists, and the ladies wore silver swimsuits. I like the idea of the silver swimsuits, although I didn't love the necklace piece that they were all wearing. I felt like that was a little bit distracting. The first contestant that stood out to me for swim was South Africa. Now that's not too surprising. South Africa is a pageant powerhouse and they have a lot of title holders as well as placements. And so South Africa had just a really wonderful, confident walk in my opinion. I felt like Thailand, in comparison to some of the other contestants that went early in the swimsuit competition, had a lot of great energy. She had a wonderful walk, and at this moment in the show, I thought she would be getting one of my top scores for swim. Then another one of my standouts is Namibia. Namibia looked great in that particular swimsuit that they put them in. And also, I just really love her eye contact with the audience and with the camera. I think that she was fabulous with that, very, very confident. She had a wonderful sway to her walk, and I also feel like she had a lot of confident eye contact with the camera. Russia is a ballroom dancer, and I think that being a ballroom dancer really worked in her favor. It's actually hit or miss for dancers. Sometimes they have a fabulous walk, other times a walk can look too stiff or unnatural, but her dance experience, I think, is working for her. Also, Russia was in the top 8 last year, so they have been sending some really great delegates. I think she is so beautiful and did a fantastic job. Iceland was in the top 2 last year, so again, not really surprised to see her do great here. I love the straight hairstyle on her. Where have I seen her before though? I can't remember if she's competed at Universe in the past or Supra. I'd recognize her though. Let me know in the comments. Korea, gosh, when I saw her, I was just thinking that the women this year are exceptionally beautiful, because I feel like normally with Earth that I have a lot of comments about like the hair and the makeup and how that can be improved, but I feel like looking at this year's contestants, we're seeing that improvement. But also, of course, she had a wonderful performance, great walk, wonderful posing transitions as well. I thought Vietnam was really, really beautiful. I think that the gesture of the eyes to the camera, it's a little bit too grand for me, but I still like her a lot, and I would still be giving her a great score for her overall performance because she has a great walk. She did wonderful. Brazil has so many beautiful contestants, and this year's Miss Earth Brazil is no exception. She did a phenomenal job. I really appreciate her spin turn, the preciseness with all of her posing transitions, and honestly, she's just such a stunning contestant. When I saw Czech Republic, I thought she looked so young. Oh my goodness, she reminds me of how young the Earth contestants really are. They have a very small range of eligibility for them, so you can see that this year. I think that she was beautiful though, and I loved like the bounciness in her hair, and honestly it was just like the energy she brought. She seemed very, very present throughout the entire competition. She didn't look stressed. Ethiopia, I just thought was so beautiful. Wow, I think that the posing transitions could have been cleaned up a little bit more though, but honestly she was just really captivating in swim. Philippines, I think, is so beautiful. Love the little hair flip here. She was very well prepared. I just think she did a solid job for swim. Mexico. Now, I think that the walk can be improved, but she was just gorgeous. Oh my gosh. So sometimes you see a contestant and they're literally just so beautiful that can help to overcompensate and push them forward to a next round. When the ladies all came out in silver slash kind of white and silver gowns, honestly, I was really disappointed by this because this is a scored component of the competition. And I don't mind if everybody has to be in the same gown color, but if you're gonna put everybody in it for a scored competition, then keep them in that color. I don't think there's any point of changing them into different gowns for the next portion for speaking when it's not really going to help them at all. I am more of a proponent for allowing them to choose the gown that they'll be scored in, and then you can later change them all into silver gowns for crowning. I think that would have made a lot more sense. Vietnam was beautiful. This gown did so much for her waist, and she gave us this kind of Michelle D type pose, but I think she just did a phenomenal job here. I think because of Russia's tan that this gown color actually worked so well for her. Now last year, Russia's gown, as stunning as it was live, oh my gosh, it was, I just felt like it was more of a grand style. So I was really happy to see them dress this year's Miss Russia in a gown that I think was more fitting for Earth. Thailand, I just love so much. Oh my gosh, the gown was so beautiful on her. Really big fan. I think she's gorgeous. I thought that she presented this in a really elegant way. Philippines, the gown really surprised me. I don't know if it's meant to be this, but it looked like the horns of a ram. And I think a gown like this could be fun for a farewell or maybe for Miss Grand International. I didn't love this choice for Earth. I thought it was really distracting for this part of the competition, but I still think that she did a good job working with this gown, even when it would bump into her arms. Iceland, I think, looked great in this gown. It was a pretty simple design, but she looked beautiful, and I like the straight hairstyling. She also did a good job walking down the stairs as well. But my one comment too, I think just for everybody, not the girls' fault, is I wish we would have gotten more face shots. I feel like we saw a lot of their feet or a lot of behind the contestant. Czech Republic, once again, just adorable. Honestly, she was so cute. She just seemed really present and really happy to be there, and I can see how that's such a likable quality for a lot of judges. Now let's chat about the top 8 and their next challenge. They each drew a word out of a bowl, and then they just get to speak on that word. So I'm going to share with you some of the ones that I think were memorable. Chile, first of all, I wish she would have gone with a different gown. It looked like she was only wearing the top of a gown. I think the bottom was so sheer. It looked like you could just look at her underwear on stage. So I feel like the gown itself was a miss, but let's talk about the question itself, or the word, I should say. Her word was hope. She said that she believes that hope is something fundamental in our life, and it's a light that guides our path, but also it comes from our actions, and that is why hope for a future where Mother Earth will be loved and protected. That is her biggest hope. And honestly, for Earth, I thought this was a really great answer. I liked it. Before her response, Philippines asked for prayers for her country. Honestly, I think it was really well said. It was a really beautiful sentiment that she shared there. So that was nice. And her word was law. And she talked about how nobody is above the law, and that every decision our politicians and policies make affect the lives of everyone. She mentioned social justice as well as environmental justice, and that every law we pass must be right for everyone on Earth. So I honestly thought she did a really great job here. And in this moment, honestly, I thought she would have been moving forward, especially just the mention of the acknowledgement of what was happening in her country. I thought it was beautiful, but I saw online there were mixed reviews. Czech Republic's word was interesting. It was parenthood. And she talked about losing her dad when she was only 16 years old. And she says that this really changed her, and that she is trying to find strength to fight for her dreams as well as for the environment. And she feels like her dad was watching her from above in that moment. So really sweet moment here for her. Thailand's word was motivation. And she said that we have motivation in us, but the motivation we bring is someone who is in front of us, and that person brings that power of motivation to move us forward. And I believe as a little girl, motivation pushed me forward and made me stand here today as a girl and to succeed, essentially. And so I thought it was really beautifully said here. And like I mentioned though, when I saw her in gown, I was like, wow, she is stunning and just has so much confidence. I would have been advancing her as well. Brazil's word was corruption. And she says, it's a bad thing that happens in the world, but we need to choose our leaders. We have to have better leaders so that we can have a better world, and we need to educate others so that we can choose better leaders. And I honestly thought that was a nice answer. I thought that it made a lot of sense, and she's somebody I would have liked to have seen move forward. Vietnam's word was leadership, and she talked about that with leadership, we can do things like save water, we can reduce, reuse, and recycle. We can also educate children to save this world through leadership. And so I just thought that was a very, very Miss Earth answer. So I can definitely see how she moved forward. The top four had a tricky question, which stated, Bill Gates, a leading proponent for carbon emissions reduction, recently proposed that resources must be shifted away from the battle against climate change to efforts that prevent disease and hunger instead. Do you agree? Why or why not? Thailand used a translator, and I'm wondering how accurate that translation was, because Thailand said her entire answer and then got the translation. I think if you're getting an answer translated, you should say a sentence, maybe two, allow that to be translated, and then keep going with your answer so you could get the most accurate translation possible. Thailand did, though, say something to the effect of, I definitely agree we should reduce carbon, increase the carbon tax. We can all be mindful. For example, less carbon through cars. We have the power to be responsible and protect the earth. So I'm not exactly sure if she understood the question entirely once I heard this answer. Vietnam also said, I agree. I believe everything is important. Hunger makes people and climate change makes our lives get hotter, like in Vietnam. It affects many people in life. We shouldn't just focus on hunger, but climate change as well. It's our home, so we should also focus on it. So I feel like at one moment she seemed to pick a side, but then in the end she was like, we should address both. So I feel like she should have kind of gone with one route or the other. Iceland's placement in the top four surprised me because of the pause that she took in the top 8. But here we are. Her answer was, I believe that we should take every problem in the world into consideration. We should take care of the people that we care for on Earth, because if we don't have empathy to take care of our people and our families, we also can't take care of the Earth. So pretty good answer here, definitely redeemed herself. And then last we have Czech Republic, and she said, I'm here not to point a finger and to choose what's worse, environment or social problems. Even though I'm on the other side of the world, we face climate change together. If we can unite, we can address both. So I actually feel like this was a perfect answer here. It made a lot of sense. I agree. She was just like, now I'm not going to say which is worse here, but we just have to address both. We aren't really in a position to just pick one or the other. Now after this, we had the crowning, and here were the results. Remember, there's no technical first, second, third runner up. They do the elemental court instead. So Miss Fire was Thailand. Miss Earth Water was Vietnam. Then again in the top 2 was Iceland, who placed as Miss Earth Air. And then our winner this year is Czech Republic. Congratulations to Czech Republic on winning the 25th anniversary crown. That's extra special and exciting. And congrats to all of the contestants that competed this year. It takes a lot of preparation, lots of courage to get up on that stage and pursue this dream. So very proud of all of you. Congrats, ladies. And of course, friends at home, I hope that you enjoyed the episode and that you will tune in for a lot more. I'll see you soon.